And we see President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania processing in, President Macron of France behind them as well.
And they are being led to their seats for what is going to be, no doubt, a very moving funeral mass that will begin shortly. And Chris, just describe what it is like there in the square, because I was just overcome, the tens of thousands of people from all around the world, and they're relatively quiet, waiting for this moment as they're thinking about what Pope Francis meant to them. Loud applause for President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. Wow. The crowd is erupting for Zelenskyy as they see him, because the crowd has these large television monitors. And as soon as the shot of Zelenskyy was shown, there was this huge applause. And hold on, Chris, because I just want to ask, the Rogito last night that was buried with Pope Francis talks about his accomplishments, and he, in that, talks about war around the world and Ukraine, right, John Allen?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Rogito is the scroll that summarizes the accomplishments of the Pope's life that is placed into the coffin, along with coins that were minted during his papacy. And it does very much emphasize his effort to try to end war. The Pope was extraordinarily active on Ukraine from the very beginning of this conflict. At one point, he actually appointed a personal diplomatic troubleshooter, Cardinal Matteo Zuppi of Bologna, who's the president of the Italian Bishops' Conference, who traveled to Moscow and to Beijing and to Washington and to Brussels to try to bring an end to this conflict, or at least to try to bring some humanitarian relief to it. Now, as with so many things during the Francis papacy, his engagement was not entirely uncontroversial. There were some who felt that he wasn't as foursquare on the side of the Ukrainians as he should have been. He was very much trying to keep lines of communication with Russia open as well. And there were some for whom that was not always a congenial stance. But I think the one thing you cannot question is that Pope Francis was a pope that wherever he saw war, he tried to stop it.
We have learned now that President Zelenskyy of Ukraine and President Trump have met just before this service and now have plans to meet again.
Wow.
I'm going to show you, these are the first pictures that we received just a short time ago. Incredible. Incredible to see these two leaders face to face, trying to talk about an end to the war in Ukraine. Remember, the last meeting between the two of them was disastrous inside the Oval Office that devolved into a shouting match. Now,
there's something poetic almost about this. Next is this second meeting, or the meeting after that one, being inside the Basilica. They are inside St. Peter's Basilica, as if they've just drawn up two chairs and decided impromptu, all right, we'll sit down.
In this picture, too, you see French President Macron and Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister there, as well, trying to bring them together. What's not clear is what progress they have made, if any. We are told there is possibly I haven't seen the very latest, but a second meeting happening after this funeral mass where details could come about. And John Allen, you know, the last time we saw a papal funeral was 20 years ago, and there was a diplomatic breakthrough then.
Yeah, that's right. The president of Israel actually had the opportunity to shake hands with Bashar al-Assad of Syria and Mohammad Khatami of Iran, two countries that do not recognize the right of Israel to exist, and is probably as close as they've ever come to doing so in their history. It was a kind of handshake diplomacy at the Pope's funeral. And again, it is a reminder that the Pope has this unique power to convene, and we're seeing that again here today. Both in life and in death, absolutely no one on the planet says no to an invitation from the Pope. And in that sense, if there is some sort of opportunity for Trump and Zelenskyy to make progress towards peace in Ukraine, it would be such a fitting final tribute to Francis's legacy as a sort of peace pope.
And also, Francis was really about process. He was about small steps. You don't have to arrive at any final thing for him. It was about these encounters, you know, the famous dialogue. And that was always what he was emphasizing and what he was looking for. I don't think he ever had the idea that he had to have a certain outcome. It was important to him that people sit down, you know, whether it's inside a basilica or in a boardroom, but that at least the goodwill effort was there. If you're sitting down with somebody, he feels like that would get you, and he would repeat that over and over.
And that was one of the things I asked Pope Francis about in our interview, is what gives him hope. Let's take a listen. When you look at the world, what gives you hope?
Todo.
Everything.
Uno ve tragedias,
You see tragedies,
pero ve
but you also see so many beautiful
tantas
things.
cosas lindas. Uno ve madres heroicas,
You see heroic mothers,
hombres heroicos,
heroic men, men who have
que
hopes and
tienen ilusión,
dreams,
mujeres que miran
women who
adelante.
look to the future.
Eso a mí me da
That
mucha
gives me a lot
esperanza.
of hope.
La gente quiere vivir.
People want to live.
La gente
People
va
forge
adelante.
ahead. And people are
Gente es
fundamentally good.
fundamentalmente buena.
We are all fundamentally good.
Somos fundamentalmente
Sometimes
buenos.
we are a little
Somos
mischievous,
un poco pícaros,
sinners,
pecadores,
but the heart
el
is good.
corazón es bueno.